Well, hello everyone. I just wanted to do a little bit of a quick market update here for you guys. Trying to kind of bring some light onto what's happening with the real estate market here in Milton specifically, but also just kind of the West GTA and the general real estate market as we kind of see it. So here we are, mid-March. The February data came out last week. Apologize for not getting this out a little bit sooner. I kind of had to wrap my head around it a little bit. Just try to figure out kind of what was happening and why, because we kind of saw some differing and polar almost data, but I think I've wrapped my head around it a little bit here. So without further ado, let's kind of jump into it a little bit here. I'm going to be using a bunch of these kind of graphs, and then I'll jump into some other stuff as well. But basically what we're looking for here is kind of a bit of a tale of the tape. And actually, if I jump over to a map here first, what I really wanted to do is I wanted to kind of set the stage a little bit here. And we, obviously we got Toronto, which is kind of the epicenter of the financial district of Canada, and certainly the real estate market in Ontario. Think of a nice calm pond, just ice glass, and you throw a stone or a pebble into it, and you get that ripple effect that goes out, right? We have that same kind of effect in the Toronto real estate market as well. So think of Toronto as being the epicenter. This is where you threw the stone, and then you're going to have the ripples that will move out from Toronto. So as the Toronto real estate market kind of starts to heat up, and people are looking for more affordability, they'll start to move out. And then once that becomes a little bit less affordable and they're looking for a better deal, they move out and they move out and they move out, etc. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. Is we're seeing a bit of an uptick in the Toronto market, but not so much even in the Mississauga market per se, and the Milton market and the Halton Hills market, etc. But we did see was an uptick in the Oakville market specifically, and a bit in the Burlington market as well. So we're kind of just saw that ripple effect go out. If I dug into, and I didn't, I apologize, but if I dug into the Mississauga market a little bit more, I'd be willing to bet that South Mississauga had a substantial jump, whereas North Mississauga didn't, and it offsetted to kind of keep Mississauga a little bit on the decline slightly. But let's get into the graphs a little bit more here anyway. So here I am as an example looking at Oakville here, right? And so obviously each one of these lines kind of break down, what segment of the market is moving. What we'll see here is the detached market in Oakville, had a pretty good strong uptick. We saw the townhouse market kind of relatively flat, slight decline, a bit of a drop off in condo apartments, which seems to be a tale of the tape as we get out of the Toronto market a little bit here as well. And then I guess we just have a little bit of an uptick in the condo townhouse market slightly. Moving over here, we're jumping back into Milton here, just as a contrast. What we saw was overall, the detached market kind of really kind of dropped off, but we did see an uptick in the townhouse market. Sorry, couldn't get that out for some reason. So the townhouse segment really kind of had a big incline, an increase, whereas there was a bit of a decline in detached. Furthermore, we saw a pretty substantial drop off in condo apartments, as well as every other kind of segment, with the exception of condo townhouses, which had a bit of an uptick as well. So a drive towards low rise, and we're going to see that a little bit around, a drive towards low rise away from condo apartments, but also more towards affordability. If I jump over to the next graph here, here we are in Burlington, and we saw a similar kind of tail here, right? A jump in the detached, a drop off in condo apartments, and then pretty much every other segment here as well. Whereas we have townhouses, an increase, in in townhouses. Jumping over here, this is going to be looking at the broad. This is sales volume for Burlington. So pretty much flat, right? So month over month, I think it was maybe like one or something like that, one or two less houses sold, but pretty much flat across the board there. Whereas here we see Milton, the sales volume kind of like, kind of falling off again here through February. And we certainly saw that in February. It was pretty slow in Milton. Whereas I did hear some of my colleagues talking about it in the Toronto market was pretty strong. So, I'll go back to the map again in a second here. Whereas Oakville, we saw a pickup in transactions, right? You can see that increasing as well. And then here we are in the Toronto market, right? So Toronto had, again, a good, nice number of increased sales, right? So again, we're looking at, Toronto being the epicenter. The action will happen in Toronto first for the most part, and then it will ripple out. So it's not surprising that, of course, we see a little bit of activity ahead of Milton. Duplicate slide, I think, here. So this is Burlington. I apologize. Now, if I kind of dig into the segments of sales, here we are looking in Milton specifically, we had, a large majority of the sales, or not really majority, but a large portion of the sales were the condo townhouses, 43%, whereas 34% were detached. And we can see kind of where we fall in the price point, where a lot of people were really trying to stay under that $1 million mark, right? So which kind of sets us up saying that we are, the people here are looking for kind of something to be more affordable than, than Toronto and Mississauga, et cetera, and Oakville and whatnot, right? So we can see a large majority of, most buyers are kind of looking for that sub $1 million mark, seeing how much they can get to be under $1 million. And if I go over to Oakville here, we see that's not really the case, is it, right? Everything was pretty much over the $1 million mark, with a large chunk of it being over $2 million, right? So we had an equal number of sales between over $2 million between $1 million and $1.25 million. So what that's telling me is that the money is coming back into the real estate market, right? It's telling me that the people that have money, right, as they say, follow the money. The people that have money are now saying, okay, I think I have the confidence to get back into the market. So we're starting to see that, and we see that because Toronto is going to increase in value substantially, and Oakville typically does as well, right? Oakville has always been, the kind of that high-end kind of neighborhood that's just beside Toronto, right? In fact, going back in the day, it used to be cottage country for downtown Toronto executives, right? So that's kind of like how it started. So it has that stigma to it. Not stigma, that has that reputation to it. And so there is, a lot of high-end homes along the waterfront, et cetera, south of Lakeshore, and that's what we're seeing there, right? We jump over to Burlington, and we do see stuff over $1 million, right? So this tells me that there's a lot of buyers looking for the detached homes, trying to see what they can get, obviously, but looking at detached homes, around the million, under $1.2 million kind of mark for the most part. And so for me, like I said, I was kind of chewing on this data for a little bit, because I think what this means to me is that, Burlington, Oakville, people want that nice, mature neighborhood, right? They want that quiet neighborhood where you can park your car on the street and still have room between the two curbs. You're not crammed in. You've got room for a pool. You got a yard. You got that kind of stuff, right? And I think that really this is telling me that Canadians are looking for a nice, quiet, mature neighborhood, which Milton, in all fairness, is kind of lacking, right? We got two neighborhoods that will kind of offer that, and then it's all brand new for the most part, newer, right? That urban intensification policy that kind of trickled out towards development since the 2000s. So this is kind of what I'm seeing here, right? I'm seeing that people are buying detached homes in Burlington. They want that mature neighborhood. Now, if I jump over to Peel, because I did want to kind of wrap my head around things, etc., we are seeing detached homes that are selling. Some of them over the $2 million mark, but we are kind of, for the most part, getting that $1 million, etc., right? Not a lot of condo apartments, only 18%, right? So, but that'll probably kind of just be in this kind of segment, et cetera, right? But I think that people, just maybe are bypassing northern Mississauga, really maybe trying to stay at that South Mississauga kind of area, again, that kind of mature neighborhood before they really did that urban sprawl, et cetera, right? And that's kind of just maybe what we're kind of seeing here. And then if we go back into Toronto, a good number of homes, selling over $2 million mark, but not surprisingly, almost 50% of the sales being condos, because that's really, they've run out of land. That's really all they're really developing there. And then we're seeing kind of that price point, and it's pretty even along the way, but before you start to get into that detached kind of like price point up here, right? And then finally, kind of just looking, just as we slowly start to wrap up here, just looking at the Halton as a whole, right? Now, I did kind of already break down Burlington, Milton, and Oakville, but looking at it as a whole, because of course we have Halton Hills up there, we'll have all the northern kind of parts of Halton, et cetera, and just kind of seeing how things are kind of starting to lay out, really. But we do still have a good chunk being detached, which, if we look at Milton saying, well, there wasn't a lot of detached that sold, obviously Burlington and Oakville are kind of like making that up and showing us that we are kind of like pushing over that $1 million mark, etc. And then again, just as kind of Halton as a whole, just seeing that it is kind of teeter off just a little bit here, but again, just showing that, Burlington and Oakville were fairly strong, not enough to turn the entire region, around. We are still, as you can kind of see, that does kind of teeter off a little bit as far as sales volume does go. So the northern areas of Halton are kind of lacking, and maybe just that those will be yet to kind of like to grow as far as sales go. And then I looked at Peel again as a whole, and we do see it kind of like teetering off a little bit, right? So again, if I jump back over to the map here, and I say, here we are in Toronto, and what we're seeing is some growth in Toronto, some growth along the waterfront here, but not so much anywhere else. That tells me that the pebble has been thrown, so to speak, and that we might start to see, this year, those sales volumes start to increase, etc. Of course, we can't ignore, the Trump tariff rhetoric and all that kind of stuff, which is giving a lot of people some pause and uncertainty. So, dare I say again, follow the money. Those that aren't so concerned about the Trump tariffs, or they honestly feel that this is going to be a short-lived, posturing and all that kind of stuff. He'll get as close to what he wants as possible, and then he's got to move on because it will likely hurt his economy going long-term as well. I think that they're kind of, I think that buying the dip, so to speak. I think there's enough confidence that people are starting to get back into the market in the major areas, again, around Toronto, and then along the Lakeshore, Oakville, Burlington, etc., before we start to see that ripple effect start to kind of roll out away from the GTA as a whole. Anyways, that's what I'm seeing. That's my take. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear some responses. What are you guys seeing? What are you guys feeling would be even better, because we do, as many people as we do talk to, it is just a fraction of the overall market, etc. Right? So I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking. You guys thinking about buying this year? You guys thinking about holding off? Thinking about selling, downsizing, upsizing, right sizing, whatever the case may be. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Anyways, nice having the opportunity. Thanks for listening.